Today, we're sampling the model cycles.
Freebeat.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music-related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Today's patron shoutout goes to Danny Vinks. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. I am quite excited for today's video. As you can see, I've got two of my favorite pieces of electronic music gear in front of me. I've got the Electron Model Cycles and the Polyend Tracker. Now, I've very clearly fallen in love with the Polyend Tracker over the past, it's almost been a month now, I think. That's been very apparent. But any longtime viewers of the channel know that I also absolutely adore the Electron Model Cycles. One of my favorite grooveboxes, probably my second favorite, right behind the OPZ, actually. The Model Cycles features the fantastic Electron sequencer at a very affordable price, a great FM sound engine, and it is a joy to work on. Although, when it does come to sound, I'll be the first to admit it has one, in my opinion at least, glaring weakness. The snare drum machine is just nowhere near as good as the other five. Particularly, it's a stark contrast to the outstanding kick drum machine. On the kick drum machine with the Model Cycles, no matter how you start messing with parameters, you're almost always going to get something that sounds good. However, on the other hand, the snare drum machine almost always comes across as kind of weak and not necessarily thin, but ineffectual is the word I'll choose to use here. No matter how you tweak the parameters, it's going to take a long time to get something usable. Now, it can be done, but it spans a very, very narrow range of what I would call, again, usable sounds, and it's just nowhere near as good as the kick drum engine. So that's where the Polyend Tracker comes in today. See, what I want to do is come up with a kick drum sound and then a snare drum sound, sample them into the tracker, and then use the tracker's sound design capabilities to beef up the snare drum sound and see if we can get it sort of on par with the kick drum sound. So first up, let's jump right into the Model Cycles and do some sound shaping. All right, here we are at the Model Cycles. Let's start by designing our kick drum. So the stock sound is honestly pretty good, but just by playing with a few of these parameters, we can really get something cool going on. I like a nice short decay on my kick drums. I like all of the echo and fun stuff after the fact to come from like reverb and whatnot. Let's take this down an octave. No delay. Kind of like it with and without the punch, honestly. Two very different sounds. Okay, so I vote we sample both kick drums. This one here, and that one there. Now let's move on to the weaker of the two instruments, the snare drum. First thing I want to do is turn on the punch. Not too much of a difference, honestly, there. Let's extend the decay a bit. Again, can't really hear anything. Just gonna start playing with like the shape and the sweep knob. Let's get the LFO involved. So we'll go LFO setup. Let's set the destination to, we'll go sweep. And let's crank it. That's kind of a cool effect. I really like that sound with the pew. I think that's pretty good. Let's continue playing with some of the other knobs here. Now, as I'm turning these knobs, you're probably noticing the same thing I always notice, and that the sound isn't necessarily changing that much. And that's just one of the inherent characteristics of the snare drum on the cycles. In my opinion, it's just not a great machine. So I think we just go ahead and sample this. Maybe a couple different hits of it so we can capture the LFO in various places, and then just go from there and see what we can do on the Polyend Tracker to fatten it up. So let's bring the Polyend Tracker back into the picture and do some sampling. Okay, we are back with the Polyend Tracker now. All I've done is taken the headphone output of the model cycles and ran it into the audio in on the Polyend Tracker. Let's go to the sample recorder. We're going to choose line in, and let's get our kick drum sample here. So we can see we've got a level coming in just fine. So let's go ahead and hit record. And there we go. We've got our kick drum sample. Just going to go ahead and save that. Let's name this MC Kick. Save and load it into a new project. Let's go ahead now and turn on punch. Go back to the sample recorder and record that same kick with the punch on it. There we go. MC Kick 2. Okay, save and load. Perfect. Now it's time for the snare drum. Back to the sample recorder. Snare drum, let's record one. Here we go. All right, save it. Let's go MC snare. Okay, so on the one we did record, we do have that pew sound. Let's record one without it now. So sample recorder, here we go. Perfect. All right, start point, adjust, save and load. Okay. You know what? Just for good measure, let's get a hi-hat. We'll just get a stock hi-hat too off the cycles. There we go. Just to say we have one, just so we can make a little beat, we'll go MC HH. That's JJ. HH. There we go. Save and load. Okay, let's ditch the model cycles now because we don't need it and get to work on the tracker. Okay, so we've got our 5 samples here. We've got MC Kick 1, 2, MC Snare, MC Snare 2, and the hi-hat. Sounds like we need to edit those samples a bit though. So let's go sample editor. Let's start with MC Kick, sure. Let's go ahead and adjust our start point here. Zoom way in. Zoom way out. Bring the endpoint down. Okay. We'll go crop. Let's normalize it real quick. There we go. Okay, perfect. That sample is done. All right, moving on to MC Kick 2. We're going to do the same exact thing basically here. Ooh, we're going to put a little fade out on the end of that, actually. There we go. MC Kick 2 is done. Let's go MC Snare now. Okay, perfect. Do the same thing with MC Snare 2. Normalize. There we go. Might as well just get the hi-hat done too since we're here. All right, there we go. We've got our sounds. Let's go ahead and play with them. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead here and fill in notes on the hi-hat. We'll just do 8th notes. We'll go C5. Just like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get some kick drums in here really quick. Remember, we're not necessarily going to do too much work with kick drums today. The main target of our sound design is the snare drum today. So I'm just kind of interspersing these kick drums here, switching between 1 and 2 as I see fit. Cool, super basic, but that's what we're after because we want to play with the snare drum today. So let's go MC Snare Drum 1. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually layer these 2 snare drums together and then sample them together, resample them together rather. That's going to help fatten them up. So we'll go snare drum right there, then we're going to go snare drum 2 right there. All right, now I'm going to shift and select those 2, preview them together. We're going to go more. Render selection as a new sample. We're going to go MC Snare 3. Render and load. All right, so now we have MC Snare 3. Let's go to instrument parameters and have some fun with this. So the first thing I want to do is go effects and drop the bitrate. That's immediately beefing it up a bit. We can also add some overdrive. Let's actually Get the bit depth to about 9 there. There we go. Now we'll go to the overall volume and lower that since we boosted the overdrive. Okay. Let's go to a low-pass filter now. Increase our resonance. Drop our cutoff. That's actually not awful. What if we could automate that, though? So we'll go down to filter cutoff in our automation section. We'll go to envelope. Play with these parameters until we find a sound that we like. We can jump back to the filter cutoff and lower it, so that envelope will affect it more. That's kind of a fun sound. Play with our tuning. Back to the envelope. Yeah. Lower that resonance a bit. Ooh. I'm really digging that. Let's go to effects and get some reverb. Not the best snare drum, but also not awful. Also, we've only been working on this for maybe like 5 minutes. That's a lot of reverb. Also, no delay. All right, let's go back and sequence it and just see how it sounds. So I'm going to erase those 2 snare drums right there. And then come back and put one on beats 2 and 4 here. Let's hit play. In all reality, that's not awful. Not exactly what I had in mind when I started this video, but that's okay. A lot of sample editing on the Polyend Tracker is trial and error. And while that's not the greatest sound we've ever made, I think that sounds better than anything I've come up with on the model cycles before. Kind of cool down low, too. Let's go back to the sample loader here, though, and load one more instance of it. So I just copied it into a new slot here. Let's go back to our pattern and have some fun with the sample itself. So we'll go to sample editor. Let's go ahead and time stretch it and just see what we can do here. We'll go time stretch beat. And I'm also going to move the end way in here. Select, apply. That's the snare drum. Cool, we're going to do something fun with that. This could be really silly, but that's okay. We're now going to go to sample playback. We're going to go to beat slice. Whoop, beat slice, there we go. I'm going to hold shift and press equal slice. We got 8 slices now. And we are going to go into our pattern and fill this whole track here, track 5, with this note, this instrument. And then we're going to go to the effects column. Oh, I love the tracker so much. We're going to go fill. We are going to go effects type. We are going to go slice. There we go. Random. We have 8 slices, so from 1 to 8 each step. That's super goofy. Let's go and tune it down 2 octaves. Okay, that's the coolest thing I've ever made with the snare drum machine on the model cycles. Hey, I didn't say we were necessarily sampling the model cycles to make drum sounds. What a cool, like, bass sound. I love how some of them are pitched differently depending on, you know, the slice. Super cool. So there we go. I guess I'm just going to call this one sampling the model cycles, because technically That's all we did. I do hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.